Recovery Elevator episode 574.
I have to love myself as I am with my faults, have grace on myself and compassion for myself the same way I do for others. And I was missing that.
Welcome to the Recovery Elevator podcast. My name is Paul Churchill, and this is How We Quit. On today's episode, we have Kerri. She's 51 years old, from Maine, and she took her last drink of alcohol on June 7th, 2025. Great job, Kerri. In our alcohol-free community, Cafe RE, we have monthly themes, and February's theme is self-love and acceptance. So every person I've met and chatted with who has been successful in sobriety has done major work in this area. Now, the issue that trips people up with this core concept is when. When will we show ourselves love and acceptance? When I first began sobriety, I attached my self-love and acceptance to a clock, or how many days I had away from alcohol. For example, I'd love myself, but only when I hit 30 days of sobriety, or 60 days, or 90 days, or a year. You get the point. I didn't realize this at the time, but this was always a trap. The only time we can practice self-love and acceptance is now, the only time we're in. This is also why this concept can be mastered in a matter of seconds or even less, because again, it has to happen now, in this moment. It's the only time it can ever happen. It also helps to know some basic mechanics of the thinking mind, and the big one here is that it will always push happiness or salvation or self-love or acceptance into the future. So next time you hear the mind say that once we do X, Y, or Z, then we can love ourselves, then gently, then forcefully push back on that voice. See, these are the trenches of recovery, and you don't have to be in the trenches alone. And what's up, all my Cafe RE peeps? I'm seeing so much self-love and acceptance in the community. You guys are my favorite. And one more thing with Cafe RE, the monthly membership price is increasing to $29 per month on March 1st from $24 a month. Now hang on, stick with me. If you're already a member, your price will not increase. You're grandfathered in. So you can join now and lock in the lower rate. And keep in mind, $29 a month is most likely a fraction of what you spent on alcohol per month. And before we get any further, I want to mention this is an ad by BetterHelp. It feels like February is all about flowers, candy, stuffed animals, and of course, lots of talk about relationships and dating. And sometimes it feels like everyone else has it all together regarding their love lives. But the truth is, most of us, everybody, we're still figuring it out and finding our way. And no matter where you are in your romantic journey or just with your connections with other human beings in general, therapy can help you find your way, help you determine what you want, what feels heavy, and how you can take some pressure off yourself. Sometimes, well, all the time, I have blind spots in my own relationships, and therapy is a great way to illuminate what I need to work on. I don't have relationships figured out or this whole connection thing, which is so important to recovery, which is why I meet regularly with a therapist. With over 30,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, having served over 6 million people globally. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/elevator. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/elevator. Okay, let's get started. Last week in episode 573, we talked about patience, how preparation is sacred work, and how your timeline is just that. It's your timeline. So this week, we're going to talk about building your expedition team. And when I say expedition team, I mean who's on your sobriety team, who's in your corner, who are you going to reach out to when things get wobbly, who are you going to reach out to when things aren't wobbly. And you betcha we're bringing Lewis and Clark back into the fold for one more episode, because the truth that they knew from day one is you don't make it to the Pacific Ocean alone. So let's talk about who's on your recovery team. First, there's this podcast. You've got myself, our production team, Chris, Robin, and Natasha. So we're on your team. And every interviewee you hear, you betcha they're on your team. Then there's community. This is a huge one. This can be in person or an online community with other sober people. But if it is online, you got to make sure you occasionally meet up in person. So maybe it's a recovery meeting, maybe it's a cafe or a chat. But you need people in your life who get it, who've been where you are, and who can remind you why you're doing this. And hey, there's no shame in professional help. It's a gangster move to add an addiction counselor to your expedition team. Lewis and Clark had Sacagawea as a guide. You get a therapist. You need books on your expedition. Quit lit books, memoirs, anything that keeps you connected to the mission. Dolce Vita. And don't forget God or a higher power, or the universe, or whatever you want to call that thing that's bigger than you. Because when you're in the wilderness and the map runs out, sometimes you need to trust that there's something guiding you forward, even when you can't see the path. Now, here's who's not on your expedition team. That would be alcohol. Bringing alcohol on your sobriety journey would be like packing a barrel full of rattlesnakes with a loose lid. And speaking of leaving alcohol behind, this is a true story. Lewis and Clark tried to gift whiskey as a gesture of goodwill to the Nez Perce tribe when they made first contact. And you know what the Nez Perce said? Nope. Alcohol makes men fools. They saw it for what it was. It was a liability and not a gift. So this week, I want you to ask yourself, who's on my team? And if the answer is nobody yet, then your mission is to find at least one person, because you can't do this alone, and you weren't meant to do this alone. So next week, I'm going to read a powerful piece about what finally pushed someone into the waters of sobriety. But for now, build your expedition team. And hey, thanks for allowing Lewis and Clark to be part of the podcast for the last 5 weeks. We'll let them off here. They've earned their rest. And before we hear from Kerri, let's hear from SoberLink. There's something about the new year that feels like a collective sigh of relief. The calendar flips, schedules can breathe, and you finally have a moment to take stock of how far you've come and where you want to go next. If you're ready to take your recovery to the next level, I have one word for you: SoberLink. SoberLink isn't just a breathalyzer. It's the connective tissue between sobriety and trust. The difference between are they sober and I know they're sober. Here's how it works. You test at scheduled times throughout the day. Built-in facial recognition confirms it's really you, and tamper sensors prevent you from cheating. Within seconds, your results are shared with your support network, like your sponsor or loved ones. Recovery's hard enough. Proving your sobriety shouldn't have to be. Visit www.soberlink.com/recovery-elevator to sign up and claim your $100 enrollment bonus. Again, that's soberlink.com/recovery-elevator to claim your $100 enrollment bonus. There's a link in the show notes as well. Kerri, how are you?
I'm well, thanks, Paul. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thanks for
Great.
asking, Kerri. Let's get right into this. When was your last drink of alcohol?
June 7th of this last summer, June 7th, 2025.
Heck yeah, great job, Kerri. How do you feel?
I have never felt better in my whole life, and I'm 51, if that was going to be your next question. It's been a long time coming, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. That's why I'm here today, hopefully to inspire other people, because it's been a great journey. Although difficult, I'm glad it's got me here.
Right on. And when you said your date, I asked prior to recording, I was like, wait a second, I know that date. Lewis from last week, he quit drinking a week after you. So I think June 12th, 2025. So you are June 7th, you said?
Yeah, 7 months and 14 days today.
Yeah. Was there a time in your life where you said, I'll never make it this far without alcohol?
I don't think so. I think part of my story is that I kept trying to grip onto control and kept thinking I could do it, but I wasn't applying anything to it. I had done a lot of white knuckling it and thinking I had it. So I think I thought I would have it, but I never did any work to get there. So this last sobriety journey is all about work for me.
Well, I'm excited to hear about the work, what tools you're implementing to have made it this far. But before we get there, Kerri, give listeners a little background about yourself. I think you said you're 51. Where are you calling in from? What does your professional life look like? What does your family life look like? And then what do you like to do for fun?
I live in the beautiful state of Maine. I feel so grateful about that. I'm a registered nurse of a long time, 29 years this last summer, actually. And that's part of the journey, I think. I have two late teen children. I'm a divorced person of a while now, single, and my kids are kind of getting ready. One just went off to college and one is a senior. So I'm going through empty nest a little bit pretty rapid fire here too. So that kind of plays into my story too, I'm sure.
And then what do
And
you like to do for fun?
I love live music. I'm a little bit of a junkie when it comes to that. If I can find a show where I could dance, I'm going to go. In this round of sobriety, I have really gotten back in tune with a regular yoga practice. That's really fun for me. Up here in Maine, there's this large community of people who are doing sauna things, and that's like a community. So I get to get involved with that. I kayak. I love time with my friends and my kids. I like to write, and I love to read poetry.
That's a long list there. You do like to have fun, of course. I think it's why we're here, to enjoy life, without a doubt.
So true, yes.
Before we get to your story, you mentioned you're a nurse for 29 years. That's awesome. You're a helper. You're a healer. You are here to serve, and you are here to assist and to make people feel better. In your career, in hospitals and whatnot, what is the role that alcohol plays with your patients? Is it like rampant? Is it like occasionally you see it intermix with things?
It's really on the rise, actually. I left hospital nursing about 7 years ago, but before that, I had worked in trauma and ICU. And when I was in the ICU, say we had 8 beds, I would say 1 to 2 could be alcohol acute withdrawal patients. And that was an interesting part of my work. Even as I was thinking about my own alcoholism through the years, I think I turned away from it and was in denial because I would ask my patients, like, how much do you drink? And they would always say what I considered a larger amount than I was drinking. So I thought, oh, green light, you're good, you're good. And it almost like reinforced some ego part of my drinking, that I had a separation between myself and them, and I kept it there for a long time. I think maybe if I could have dropped my ego at the door and let myself surrender a long time ago, I wouldn't have gotten to the trouble that came down the line.
Right on, Kerri. Well, let's do this. I'm going to turn it
Yeah.
over to you in terms of your story with alcohol. I know listeners are always interested in, how much you drank, what you drank. Was it every night of the week? Did you end up drinking in the morning? Did you drink alone? Did you ever try to moderate, scale it back, roll it back? Let's do this. Go for it.
I think I'm going to kind of make my younger part as quick as possible a little bit because it's so common maybe, and I'm 51, so I've been drinking, first time I tried alcohol, I think I was 12. I grew up in a 96 unit townhouse complex where the kids were all outdoors running around free willy from 7:30 till bedtime. So we did everything behind our parents' back. And so then I just really kind of didn't have a sense of discipline. That's what I'm going to say. I lived my 20s, went to college, lived in Boston, partied like the guys did, was the girl that was let in. I kind of thought that that was just normal and fun. I could hang out with them and party like them. That was great. Go through my 20s. I was pretty healthy in my 20s, interestingly enough. Like I ran the Boston Marathon. I didn't feel like in my 20s it was a real problem. I was drinking then as much as everybody, it seemed. So I didn't really think much of it. Go into my 30s, I start doing what I'm saying, asking patients, asking myself. I have two siblings. I have a sister who's also sober for 9 years, and her alcoholism was maybe more overt, like right out in the open where people would comment about it. But unfortunately, mine kind of wasn't an issue because I would do it in private. I would fake control like I wasn't drunk when I was. I would be blacked out drunk, but I would just like end up being the last man standing somehow a lot. So then I got into a marriage and we were kind of maybe drinking partners as well. We had a kegerator in our barn and we drank every night. And that's one of the things I would like to say is that I'm not sure I was always an alcoholic. I don't know. I really don't know. I do know that in my case, I felt a switch flip. Like when I just kept doing it, I could feel my body then do the thing where I'd be like, well, not tomorrow. And I would just at 3 o'clock, like, I really want to, I really want to. And I'd say to, I'll quit the next day. I mean, I've been wanting to quit for probably 15 years.
Kerri, let me jump in and ask
Yeah,
the question. You said I've been
sure.
wanting to quit for probably 15 years. I think you meant to
Yeah.
say like not today, I'll quit tomorrow. Did you realize after 5 years or 10 years or 15 years, you're like, whoa, crap, I've been saying this for a long time?
Nope. I got out of my marriage and went into a rental with my two kids, and I was undone, really. And my coping skill was just to let my sadness out into alcohol at night. And again, I did it in a functioning way, so nobody knew, but it was everything I didn't want to really be doing, but I didn't know how else to deal with my emotions. They were so intense. I was looking to make them go away. So then I get my first DUI, and that is 5 years ago. My first DUI. I just said that. I definitely thought after that, that's that. And I lasted about 9 months, and I would go like in this weird, wacko way that you do. I'd like test it every 3 months. Like I just would have one night to be like, okay, go back in, give it a shot. And it was just in private again. It was like that isolation just kept me like, nobody would know. I wouldn't let anybody in. It's the duality that people talk about. I just wanted to have a spot where I didn't have to worry about other people. I was just like in my own head, and I didn't know how to deal with it. I was even going to therapy, but the therapist is so helpful. But if you don't tell them what's going on, they can't help you.
Kerri,
Yeah.
5 years ago when you got your DUI, did you reach out to your sister?
Oh, yeah. Yep. And I told her I was going to be sober, and she knew that it was the best thing. But when I would go back in, I wouldn't tell her.
Okay. And you said every 3 months or so you would test it. What were the results?
My experience is that that moderation is a lie. For me, it's a lie. I cannot drink anymore. It goes fast and furious, right back down to the thing of, okay, I'll get this amount of alcohol tonight. I'll get a 6 pack of seltzers. I'd go back and get another 6 pack. And I'm single, so that involved getting in a car.
Kerri, do you remember the moment when you said, I can't drink anymore? This moderation thing is not working. Was there a definitive moment with that when you switched your strategy?
The second DUI, June 6th of this year. On June 1st, I was let go of my job as a school nurse, and I hit rock bottom emotionally. I did not have a spiritual anything to hold on. And I kind of felt like the kids who I had formed relationships with, like I was like a mom, and I felt like 25 kids I cared and loved just got hit by a bus. And my daughter graduated on June 6th. And on June 7th, I said, I don't care. I just didn't care. I didn't know how to care about myself. And I went to the store and bought a box of wine, drank it, and got back in my car.
I want to highlight something that is recurring over these podcast episodes for listeners, right? I don't think there's any safe level of drinking. I think if alcohol is involved and then you insert a traumatic life experience, like losing your job being a school nurse and losing the relationship with the kids, that's intense, right? And then drinking ramps up. I've heard it so many times. You've heard, and then COVID happened for many people. That's a major life experience. When somebody passes away in their family, job loss, personal injury, I mean, the list goes on and on. So if alcohol is a constant in your life and life happens, then there's a huge risk factor right there. So after the DUI, something stuck. I mean, that's an intense rock bottom moment. That's what propelled you forward. You're still in that current sobriety run. That was like 7+ months ago. And thank you for sharing about that, Kerri. I've shared my own traffic
Yeah.
infractions while being behind the wheel influenced by alcohol. So I appreciate you being open and honest about that. You didn't have to quit drinking after the second. What happened? What was the feeling? What did you know? Was there a moment or a window of
Yeah.
clarity of you're like, this is not right?
This part's difficult to say, but the last few times that I had gotten intoxicated before the second DUI, so we're talking about March to June, it was ramping up, and my teenage kids now noticed I wasn't able to hide it the way I had been able to. And they were asking me, was I intoxicated? And I lied right to their face while I was like slurring. And then after the DUI, and my car was impounded, I came home. My daughter came home and said, where's your car? And my son told her, and the look on her face was, I can see it now. And that's rock bottom. That's not who I wanted to be. That's not how I saw my life going. That's not the parent I wanted to be. My kids are awesome, and I could have killed somebody. And I knew that I hold it in my heart now that that's not what I've been trying to do for a long time as a nurse. So I just cannot drink. I will not drink. I will keep reaching out to people and communities and everywhere I can because I just can't.
Kerri, thank you for sharing about that experience. Super painful, I imagine. And
Yeah.
I've been in that position, more or less. How did you, the next day after the DUI, how did you say, I'm not drinking? I'm moving forward in life without alcohol? Because I bet there was a part of your brain, part of your body and mind that was like, this sucks. We need to get hammered.
I could hear it. I knew that the easiest thing to do was to drink. I did feel that. I was in so much pain, but I, had my sister as my resource, and I knew I'd been close to her about the 12 steps. I knew what it was about, and I'd been attending AA a little bit here and there, and I just was determined. And so during that first week, I mean, some hours, I just had to pick up the phone because I didn't know what to do. I was so devastated. I was kind of lost the first week. So I would just take it hour to hour, honestly. Once I could kind of burn my ships as much as possible, it was public anyway. So the ships got burned for me. It's just, I wanted a better life, really. So I've just been digging in since then.
I have read so many quit lit books just in the last 10 years doing this. And it was a book that was not in the quit lit category. It's called The Seed of the Soul by Gary Zukav. And he has almost like an offshoot paragraph about addictions. And he brings in Newtonian physics to describe like how we stop addictions. And he says addiction is like a mass of its own energy moving forward. It's swirling around in your brain. It's a bundle of stories, mostly false. And like, I think it's Newton's third law of energy, where an object will continue in motion until acted upon by an object with equal or greater force. And so he talks about how we have to almost develop the alcohol-free life, and that new life, the opportunity, has to be bigger or more important or more exciting when we think about than the addiction itself. Or you need a DUI, like a fiery rock bottom to go contra to the addiction, right? So you have this DUI, and that's like, boom, huge, massive bomb in your life. And that was such an acting force against your addiction that you decided like, no, that the pain is too much. And that's awesome that you quit. I had a DUI in 2014, and that was not my last drink, even though thinking it was going to be. And so you said that first week you were taking it hour by hour. Can you cover a little bit more on that? Because I know a lot of listeners have been there.
I was unemployed. So this is the first time in 29 years that it ever happened to me. I'd just been working nonstop, and really, I didn't even know what to do about that. And then, so I had a lot of things to do. I had to start looking for a job. My car broke. My funds were like nothing. Everything was crashing around me. So my sister says, okay, you relapse, you keep relapsing, you keep relapsing. Like, what are you going to do different? Right. And I had been agnostic, maybe atheist. Truthfully, I was pretty scientific minded. So that's the part that I thought, I see my sister working her spirituality all the time in the program, and I would kind of be like, that's not for me. That's not for me. I had to try. And so I began to, I got on my knees and surrendered and said, I can't do this by myself. And I have a serious problem with alcohol, a serious problem with alcohol. Please help me.
Wow. What was that, the next day after the DUI?
It took me a couple days. It took me a couple days. I was almost in shock. I wasn't even like crying
Yeah.
for the first few days. And then once the emotions started to come, I found myself on my knees without even asking and just saying the serenity prayer out loud. And I keep asking and it keeps coming back. I see it. I changed the name, creator, source, universe, God, spirit. But every day I'm asking for
Kerri,
help.
that's powerful. And what did it feel like when you got on your knees? And I think you said, I am powerless and I need help. and you were trying to make what they call it in the rooms of AA, conscious contact with the power greater than yourself. How
Yeah.
did that feel?
It felt like I had been waiting to ask for that my whole life. I wasn't somebody who found it easy to ask for help. I
And
just thought that I should focus my offering and my generosity outward. I didn't have that for myself. I have to love myself as I am with my faults, have grace on myself and compassion for myself, the same way I do for others. And I was missing that, Paul. I was missing that.
Kerri, I do think addiction serves a purpose, and one of them is what you just covered right there. It forces us, if we are to move forward in life without the addiction, without the substance or the behavior or whatnot, it forces us to unconditionally love the self. This is no longer tied to, I'll love you, Kerri, if you lose the weight, if you do this, if you get the job, if, XYZ, you stick to a routine or diet and all that stuff. And that's powerful. Loving the self unconditionally. I have a keyboard shortcut, HH, and it's a heart emoji. And when I write in my journal, it's like, yo, Paul, I see you. I see what you're doing, HH. And the heart shows
Yeah.
up, right? And it wasn't day one for me, and it's a work in progress. But the further I go, the more I realize, wow, life is hard in general. Like, I love you, dude. I see the fight. I see the struggle. Keep it up. Kerri, you mentioned earlier you were asking to somebody, and people get tripped up on the word. Is it God? Is it Jesus? Is it a great universal spirit? The Native American Indians called it Gus, the great universal spirit. But you said you ask and you received. This is Mark 11:24 in the Bible, is you ask and you'll receive. And that's
Yeah.
what you said you have experienced.
Time and time again. And I see the life lessons coming from my source too. I have days where there are exercises that get shown to me to have patience. Like I'll get stuck in a Spectrum mobile place for 8 hours. That's not normal. Like I realize that. And I'm starting to lose it in the Spectrum mobile place. And I'm like, doing all the victimization, making it a big deal. Like, woe is me, all this stuff. Like I have bad luck. No, that's not what's happening, Kerri. You're stuck in Spectrum because you don't have any patience. You don't have patience. So how about that? How about you show some patience? And so like it's like a communication, like I feel like I'm speaking aloud to my ancestors who have come before. I feel like they're like all along this path, they're like holding me in their hand. Like I could have died twice. I could have killed somebody twice. Like I just have to keep opening my heart and like communicate and have spirituality. That's where it's coming from for me, I think.
Yeah, be careful, listeners, with petitions to the universe on patience, or you might find yourself in the Spectrum store or your cell phone provider store for 8 hours. You must
Oh, and
be,
3 other days. That was on the fourth day. There were 3 other days before it where I went in for 3 hours each.
and you didn't light the place on fire, because I definitely would have, after probably
there,
an
there,
hour and a half.
there were some funny moments in the Spectrum. The employees were a little nervous. I think that they were getting a little nervous. Yeah.
And within those, I have had moments where I can almost see the cosmic joke, like the stress levels are rising, the chemicals of stress are pulsing through me, and it's like, oh, I see it. And there's like a smile that shows up. Doesn't make it instantly enjoyable, but it's like, oh, all right, I see what's going on now. And almost, it's like the burnt toast theory. I came across a meme a couple weeks ago, and I shared it with our dry January class, which means like if you burn your toast, something is always happening behind the scenes. It means you're supposed to get in your car 8 seconds later, right?
Yeah.
Because you would have gotten in an accident or whatnot. So again, the purpose of an addiction, for me, work in progress, still a student of the game, is
Yeah.
accept everything as it comes without attaching a label of good and bad to it. Just like, oh,
Yeah.
that happened. And I'm guessing it happened for a reason. It fit with a big purpose. I don't know, but here we are. Kerri, how has your relationship changed with your two kids? Painful moment on the 6th where your son told your
Yeah.
daughter, or maybe vice versa, but how has
Yeah.
that relationship changed?
My oldest, my daughter, she and I are very different. She's a bit of a role model to me. She has really healthy boundaries. And so I get to kind of observe her through her life, which has been great. But she's a work in progress. And I am, there was a woman on the podcast at one point, and my heart was breaking as she told the story. And it was so helpful. She was talking about, I can have no expectations. I broke her trust. And so I'm just going to keep showing up like a potted plant and be around with unconditional love that I have to offer. But she's going to have to do the work. Her mother's an alcoholic. That hurts. I lied to her face. So that's really painful. And my son, I think for some reason, maybe understands it in a different way. And so I'm able to probably share a little bit more of the nitty gritty of alcoholism with him. And I think he has a little different understanding about the disease, or I'm not sure. They're different children.
Kerri, you mentioned this time you're doing the work. What does that look like? What do you do on a day-to-day basis? Are you going to AA,
Yep.
podcasts, Quit Lit, community? What are you doing?
So I have heard every recovery elevator podcast probably twice. Spotify let me know that you won out this year. Most my kids were like over my shoulder and they're like, "So wow, we do hear you're listening to that often, but wow, mom." So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Paul, one of the reasons that's so helpful too, in Maine, everything is so far away. And so getting to meetings is challenging. And my kids are we're a hockey family. So like I have to drive around the state. So the accessibility of Recovery Elevator and podcasts is really helpful. And so here I am, month 7. So I can tell you every night before I go to bed, I have to plan the next day. And that involves like I have to choose a couple healthy things that I'm going to do. If it's going to be walking and journaling or sauna and yoga, like day and night, some things. I carry a notebook on me and journal all my thoughts and confusion and my emotions. I go to AA on once a week. I'm not a regular attender. It's the one meeting I can commit to for schedule wise, but that I would like to grow. It's been a really great experience meeting. I go to a women's meeting and it's Women with Grace. And so that's been really helpful.
I would say if you go to AA one time per week consistently, you're a regular attendee.
Yeah,
I
that's
would
good of
say
you,
that.
Paul. One of the things I also think about a lot is as a nurse too. It's unfortunate sometimes how people in recovery, I think, get the impression of there's like one way. I wonder if that steers people away from getting help. Like they're like, oh my gosh, well, 90 meetings in 90 days, I can't do it. So forget it all.
Hmm.
And like you say, like I'm doing the best that I can.
Did you say you're a hockey family?
Yes, yep.
I love that sport. I took 6 years off and I'm playing ice hockey right now in adult league. And I've won
Yes.
player of the game twice, and they give a shot glass with like hard alcohol. But everybody knows on the team I'm sober, so they give me like an NA or an athletic
That's
or a go brewing.
awesome.
Yeah, I love hockey.
It's fun. It's so fun. I can play pond hockey. I'm a little scrappy out there, but I do it to like have a great time. Yeah.
You said something I want to cover up upon. So recovery is all about finding the present moment. Again, purpose of an addiction is to say, look, the present moment is the bee's knees. I choose this moment
Hmm.
over the past and future. But you said, I'm going to plan my day tomorrow, right? How are you going to stay sober? I love that strategy. We want to be in the present
Hmm.
moment as much as we can, but also we want to plan tomorrow. Like, what am I doing? What are my non-negotiables for my recovery? That's awesome. I wanted to highlight that.
You know what I wanted
Yeah.
to say on that regard too about the planning of the day? I do want to be self-professed. I have attention deficit disorder, which has been found out much later in life. And I think that neurodivergency in addiction is proven to be have a strong correlation because the mind's going so fast. So the planning of the day also is my approach, how I attack my brain functioning.
100%. ADD,
Yeah.
ADHD, and alcoholism go hand in hand.
Yeah.
I've heard that
Yeah.
many times on this podcast, and my hand just
Yeah.
went up. I want to say thank you, Kerri, for listening to every episode of the RE podcast. I'm honored to be in your earphones on this journey with you. And I've had a couple people send me, actually a handful, send me screenshots of their Spotify Wrapped at the end of the year. And it's like, RE, what can you tell somebody who's listening right now, who's in a series of day ones, or they can get a couple days or a weeks, and then they go back and do more field research? I don't like the word relapse. What can you tell somebody? Maybe, and this is like you listen to every episode on the podcast, trying to get it. And then look where you are right now. Episode 574, we're having a conversation about it. You are on the podcast with 7+ months away from alcohol, sharing your story. What do you have to say to a listener who's like really struggling?
Your life will get better. It is so incredibly worth it. could be the most challenging thing you're ever going to get, you're ever going to go through in your whole life. But imagine being clear and present for your own life. As you say, Dolce Vita, I mean, everything. I went to Italy actually for 2 weeks in September during my sobriety. And you can have all the moments in a day that can be yours, whether they're hard, difficult, or whatever. It's your life as opposed to alcohol takes over your life. And that's not the purpose of your life. It's to live it the way that you want to live it. Get rid of that beast. Get rid of it. It doesn't have to stick around. You can do it. If I can do it, you can do it.
And Kerri's here to help you do it.
Yes.
Yeah. How good is the food in Italy?
It is as good as they say. More importantly, I can't believe the price of it. It is not like America. You can go out to eat and have the finest meal made from scratch in the kitchen for 12 euros. You can't find that in America.
No, you can't. The food's incredible. I think Italian food and Mexican food, top of the list for me.
I'm with you, Paul.
Kerri, I got another question before we hit the rapid fire round. In these last 7+ months, how have you noticed your body physically and mentally heal or respond without alcohol?
So one of the things that happened towards the last few years when the amount of alcohol was consistent and high dose, I developed an autoimmune disorder, and I had a feeling that it was related, but I wouldn't speak up about that either. That is completely gone. I had anxiety where I couldn't go over bridges. I have no anxiety. My physical health has never been better, and I'm the oldest I've ever been. I feel strong. My mind is clear. I can think clearly. The list goes, even though things have been the worst, maybe from the outside, my friends are like, you have the worst luck. Gosh, I feel terrible for you. And I say to them, I know, but my mental health has never been better. So we can do it. Life is hard, but we can do it.
Big Pharma, what's up? Pfizer wants you to think that an autoimmune disorder, once it arrives and lands, it's irreversible, like it's here to stay. But you just said you had an autoimmune disorder that went away when you removed alcohol. Incredible. Did I hear that right?
Yes. Yes, it actually, I believe there are no coincidences, and I believe that it was showing up. My lips were oozing and swelling so that I couldn't use my voice. I couldn't really open my mouth with ease. It was coming at me. It was trying to get my attention. It was trying to get my attention like, hey, how about now? How about now? So here I am.
Kerri, you're 51 years old. What is on the horizon in a life with more presence, peace, and energy?
Oh my gosh. I have a big heart and I want to use it, and I want to be a part of the world and be a part of the love that circulates, and all the best is ahead for me. I'm really excited about my next chapter. I have so much eagerness about it all. It's really a great life.
I love it. Well, we have reached the rapid fire round. If you could answer these questions in 5 to 10 seconds, that would be great. Are you ready?
Sure. I'm sure.
All right. What's the one thing you've learned about yourself in sobriety?
I'm strong. And I'm enough.
And what's your best sober moment?
My best sober moment was, I'm going to say, when I was in Italy, there was an opera singer outside the Duomo singing the most beautiful song. And I was with my daughter at the time. And I knew at that moment, I'm going to last. I had this feeling come over me, like, you've got it. Like, keep going. You've got it. It was special.
What's the point of life, Kerri?
To love.
And then what's your favorite alcohol-free drink?
I just found a new one, Island Punch by Spindrift. Or I do kombucha with just regular seltzer.
What is the coolest part about living in Maine?
Oh my goodness, the coastline. It has the longest coastline, right? More than California.
I did not know that.
Yes, it's unbelievable. And the islands out off the coast of Maine feel like you're in adult Disneyland for nature lovers. It's off the charts, really.
Wow.
It's gorgeous. You should come here sometime, Paul. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, that's definitely a state I want to visit, without a
Yeah.
doubt. And then what parting piece of guidance can you give to someone who's ready to ditch the booze?
If you are thinking about it, I wouldn't wait as long as I did. And I think, sometimes people say, like, what makes things click? For me, I had suffered enough. So if you think you've suffered enough, call it good. Move on.
And then, Kerri, you might need to ditch the booze if line. Let's hear it.
You're drunk and you lie to your kid's face.
Yeah, we are both in the right spot, Kerri. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I think it's so neat how you were listening, and now you were on the same podcast. It's just neat how I am finding everything in life happens in cycles and circles. And now you are in a place to give back. I love it. Thank you so much, Kerri.
Oh, thank you so much. Have a great day.
At the end of each episode, I thank our production team. We've got our editor, Natasha, Robin on the show notes, and Chris on the decks putting it all together. You may have realized the last 4 or 5 weeks that I haven't mentioned Ty's name. Ty is no longer editing the podcast. She edited the Recovery Elevator podcast for 544 consecutive episodes. You've got Bill W., Dr. Bob, and you can now add Ty to that list of sobriety legends. So I want to thank you so much, Ty, for everything that you've done for this movement, for RE. You'll always have a place in my heart. With love, we all love you. Thank you so much. Recovery Elevator, you took the elevator down. You got to take the stairs back up. We can do this.
I see you, Savior, I see you, Savior, Almighty Savior, I see you, Savior, I see you, Savior, I see you, Savior, Almighty Savior, I see you, Savior.